Welcome to the Better Podcast with me, Jen Baird, and today I am joined by one of Christchurch's finest, Adam Heazlewood, auction salesperson extraordinaire. We are going to talk a lot about auctions, a lot about building a high volume business. But you started in this industry right after the earthquakes. What on earth possessed you?
It was actually the opportunity that got me the most excited by it. I was only a few years out of school and I had the vision that I was going to get into real estate and specifically work at Bayleys, believe it or not.
Wow.
I actually did a couple of days work experience here, not at this exact office, but the office at the time, a few years before I finished school. And I was waiting for the right time. Like after school, I was 18, I felt I was a bit too young to do it. 2.5 years later, the earthquakes occurred. And I was like, this is my calling. I can see that there's going to be an awful lot of opportunity, and there was.
Amazing. So you're at high school and you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent.
Correct.
How did that happen? How did it even happen into your thought process?
There was a lot of in-house influence by my family, and that not because of who I was, but my parents are property investors, so therefore that involved a lot of interaction with real estate agents.
Yeah.
So I got to know through family dealings a lot of different agents and agencies and got to see the way that they all conducted themselves and their business and the way they marketed properties. And Bayleys was always the one that excited me the most, and I could see the alignment of being a premium brand known for its mid to higher end activity, and that just resonated with me, and also the people I liked. So that's how it came about. So I had to do 2 days work experience, spent one day with Chris Jones and the other Ben Turner, who coincidentally are now my business partners.
Yeah.
Funny how it works out.
Yeah, amazing. And so a couple of years out of school, you're in real estate. Tell me how you started. What did those first few years look like? How did you start to establish yourself?
Well, it's obvious that it was terrifying.
Yes.
At the age of 21. And I did work in a team, which was the best thing. I just worked with a senior agent at the time. It was just the two of us, and eventually we ended up for PA as well. And that just fast-tracked my learning progression because you were just exposed to more opportunities. So I had more opportunities to run alongside for appraisals, to run open homes on behalf, and just do all the things that you need to be doing in real estate in volume to get up to speed, which when you start on your own, it's obvious that it takes a bit longer to establish those things. So I did all that. It was terrifying. It was a funny time as well because most people had left real estate. A lot of people, for example, in real estate went to jobs that gave certainty. Even quite a few of them went to work for the Earthquake Commission at the time to assess damaged houses because you had guaranteed income. Whereas I was always a believer if people are running away, that's time to go in.
Do you still have that belief now?
Yes, I think it applies to investing and many other attributes in life.
Oh, that's so interesting. And so when did you decide to step out on your own?
I was actually pushed.
I love these stories.
It's the truth. So in my time early on, I worked with 2 senior agents. The first one ended up leaving the company. Then I worked for another agent, Rosemary De Jong, who was absolutely phenomenal and the most highly detailed and thorough person I've ever met. And I learned some really good traits, to say the least, from her. She was phenomenal. But then our general manager, who still is today our general manager, called me into his office, and the first thing that crossed my mind is I've done something wrong. Go in there and he says, I think it's time for you to step up and do your own thing. We see what you're doing. You're bringing in your own business. Get on with it.
So you were encouraged to start out on your own and you thought, yes, absolutely, I am ready. Was that the thought process or were you a bit afraid of it?
No, I was afraid and I felt like I couldn't say no.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love this.
That's the honesty.
Yeah. Amazing. And so you just leapt.
Yeah. Yep. And I felt to get to that next level, that's what I'd have to do. Yeah. Because whilst real estate is an incredibly uncomfortable job because there's a lot of things that don't provide certainty.
Yes.
Income and many other things. This was just another degree of getting more uncomfortable. But then equally, like I appreciated that, in order to grow, you can't be comfortable.
Yeah. And things have gone okay for you.
It's been good.
Yeah, indeed. Let's talk about that. So how did you get pushed out of the nest?
Yeah,
basically.
Pushed in the nicest of ways.
In the nicest way.
Strongly encouraged.
Yes, because somebody saw a potential in you that you didn't quite believe in right at that moment.
Which has been a consistent theme within the business.
Yeah.
With that belief from others that has helped, deliver full potential.
That's amazing. And I think it is awesome that you have had people around you that are prepared to sit you down and have those conversations, because so often those are the pushes through doors that make the difference in anybody's life or career. So you stepped through that door.
Yes.
How did you go about building from there?
The number one thing that I'd established pretty quickly in this job is that listing is the most important thing. So I spent 2 weeks perfecting my listing presentation and practicing it. So I figured if I'm going to get opportunities to meet with potential sellers, I've got to make sure that when I've put in all that work to get in the door, that I get to stay in the door.
Amen to that. So 2 weeks of practice.
Yeah, it was, so not just practice. Because it was all of a sudden me myself, not win a team, I got to start from scratch as such. So my listing presentation document, I got to refine and personalise. And then I was 23. I was. I was trying to think to myself, what would a seller who's wanting, or a homeowner that's going to sell, want to understand or see the benefits that I could provide, having never sold a home of my own myself.
Yeah.
But that's the mindset I tried to have. And then I just kept perfecting what I felt I could add to the table and the value I could provide a seller, and make that as clear as possible. And I was real big on making sure my presentation wasn't complicated either. You don't try to be too clever, keep it really simple. And for the rest of that year, I went out on my own in like August or something like that year. I remember it was late winter. No word of a lie, I secured every listing I pitched for the rest of that year.
Because you thought about the value that you were delivering. You didn't, yeah.
Correct.
I think that's such an important angle. Like often we think about ourselves and what we want to say as opposed to what the other person might need to hear from us in order to have the confidence in you to give you their biggest asset.
Correct. And working with Rosemary and Bayleys' philosophies in general, we're very vendor focused. So I totally embrace that, to be like, how do I actually do the best possible job by these owners and show them how I'm executing this so they know that I'm the right person for the job. Because I know with the age that I was and how young I looked at that stage, that I was on the back foot. And many sellers that I got to work with told me the same. They said, as soon as we saw you at the door, we thought, oh, no way, you're too young. Yeah. But then once I went over my presentation, they realised that I was capable.
That's fantastic. So one of the things I loved about what you just said was showed them how you were executing. So you're winning the listing, but once you've got it through the process, it sounds like you're sort of going back to them and proving the process.
I was big on that.
Yeah, great. Tell me more about how you do that.
Well, before being engaged, I was really big on making sure my case studies were very well presented and showing all the different scenarios and negotiations or paused auctions or whatever it may be with the value I was able to add with the way that I would manage negotiations or whatever it would be.
Okay, that's interesting.
So as soon as a owner was aware that whilst this guy's young, he knows how to negotiate and he's trustworthy, that's where they got a great sense of comfort. And then over-communicating during the process was such a big one. And I lived and breathed, and I still do really, but especially for someone of that age compared to what my friends and peers were up to, I feel I was so dedicated, not taking any time off, no holidays other than Christmas. And I really dedicated myself.
That's amazing. And so what does over-communicating look like?
A touch point every second day at a minimum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And just for whatever reason, do you have
even
like
if there's no update? Do
you have like a process or a particular cadence of these are the updates I give on a Sunday or a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever it is?
Well, in real estate, it's genuinely not that hard because on a Sunday, we're going to run their open home, so I get a connection point.
Yeah.
My goal was always to be there early so I could see the owners before the open home, and I call them afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Great.
They know they're going to get their first feedback report on the Tuesday because I'll do the calls on the Monday. They get their report on the Tuesday. So there's the second day. We'll run an open home on the Wednesday, which I'll obviously update them afterwards. Usually I wouldn't see them because they might be at work or whatever it may be. Call them after that. Call them on a Friday. Then you're back to Sunday.
Yeah.
Every second day. It's not that hard.
Interesting. Do you always run open homes on a Wednesday?
Almost always, yes. They work remarkably well here in Christchurch for us.
What sort of time of day?
Either side of lunch.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, a lot of people assume it's that twilight time, but we have trialled that. We find a lot of people just have that mindset of finishing their day and wanting to get home, especially in winter. So most of them are during the day. And some of the best buyer engagement or repeat visits and quality showings I have are on a Wednesday versus a Sunday.
So you do Wednesdays and Sundays, not Saturday, Sunday?
Correct.
Okay, fantastic. Now let's talk about auctions, because you are deeply committed to that process. Were you from the beginning?
No. I was encouraged with the first senior agent I worked with to do auctions. And of the first 4 I listed, I sold 3 of them. So I was not unhappy with the process whatsoever.
Yes.
And there's a bit of luck, early on when you're learning it, and sometimes the naivety of not knowing everything works. So that early stage worked to my advantage.
Yes.
But then obviously comes times where you don't sell properties at auction. You need to refine your skills and get better at what you do. And a common trait that a lot of agents fall into is that you can feel like you're a failure if you don't deliver on the day.
Yes.
And it can be quite hard to get back up on the horse and be like, yes, I'm going to work towards doing more auctions. And I fell into that trap. I actually, for a large period of my career early on, did a lot more deadline sales than an auction, believe it or not.
Interesting.
But then after growing my business in terms of scaling up a team and wanting to achieve the goals that we wanted to achieve, but equally also seeing the benefits of what vendors get out of the auction process, it was actually my lack of confidence because of a few failed attempts of auctions, which like not every property sells at auction. It'd be great if they did, but they don't. It was myself that needed to get over it and go in head first, and I have, and it's worked remarkably well for my sellers, myself, and the buyers.
Yeah, I think that is a real big one, that sense of failure, that somehow if it doesn't sell under the hammer on the day, it's failed, you've failed, and everybody knows it. But, I think part of that is how it's how you set up the conversation, isn't it? Because if you think it's a failure, then your client's going to think it's a failure, and it basically is one. But
Agree.
It's all in how you think about the process. So tell me why not selling at auction is not a failure, Adam.
Well, it's part of the process. It's plan A. Plan A is to have an unconditional buyer or buyers there on the day so that we can have competition, or at least an unconditional based conversation with a buyer to sell their home. Plan B is we've garnished ourselves with an awful lot of price feedback, and we are in a better position to go to the next step, whether that be by negotiation to roll into a set date of sale or pricing, which we tend to do more pricing than anything.
Yes.
So it's part of a process. It's a journey together for the sellers and myself to obviously be educated by what the market is telling us and how we can still best position ourselves to get the best outcome for them.
And are you having that conversation about the different ways in which this may play out? Are you having that conversation right up at the front end of this? Like when you're sitting down and having a conversation about listing the property, are you at that point talking about the fact that it might not sell on auction day? 100%.
Always push that. And it's amazing how many owners actually ask before you get the opportunity to bring it up, especially in this environment that we're in at the moment, because of course 50+% of homes sell at auction. Owners are well informed that there's a degree of them that don't sell.
Yes.
So they're quick to ask the question. But I believe that it is the process for the majority of properties, especially residential homes, that garnishes owners with the best outcome.
Yeah. And what are the usual things that people object to or are concerned about when you're having that method of sale conversation and you're talking about auctions?
It's funny, I used to have so many more objections when I didn't do so many auctions. And then now the engagement I get is from people that see what I do. It's an auction business. So I find I don't have to pitch auction that hard.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which is interesting. Like they've already decided that that's by association what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And because majority of our business, like most agents that are established, is repeat and referral. Usually the person that's referred them has auctioned their home and they'll be able to share their story. So I don't get as many objections as you think. I get more questions than objections.
Yes.
And what I mean is it's productive questions. They're happy to go along with the process, but they want to know the ins and outs. Like, what if we don't sell on auction day, as we've already gone over?
Yes.
There's still the odd myth about auctions being catastrophically expensive. As we know, they're not.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a Christchurch myth, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is interesting. So I guess people they've seen you long enough running your business with an auction focus, and as they've watched, they've seen you sell at auction and they've seen you not sell at auction, and then they've still seen the property sell quite quickly. So actually they can kind of, even though they don't know the ins and outs of how you make that happen, they know that it's a process that works whether or not you have a hammer down on the day.
Well, I suppose the advantage is as well, because it's such a public process, that case study trend that the market can see is published everywhere. People can work out, how good you are at your job because it's transparent. So I suppose as well, it's a good advertising tool in that regard. People know what you've achieved and the rest. So it works well in that regard.
And so you've done this hundreds of times. Do you have talk me through the process, talk me through your, you've listed the property, now what? Do you have essentially a standard way of rolling these things out and getting to auction day in the best shape possible?
I've got a method, but I don't know if I'd say it's just a continuous conveyor belt of it being the same, because I think it's impossible to plan for the same every time, because there's just so many variables in this job and hurdles or shock surprises that come up during a campaign.
And humans.
Yeah. People are the most unpredictable things.
Absolutely.
So that makes it incredibly difficult. It starts with a foundation of very realistic expectations, I like to think, with how we manage the appraisal process. So I make it abundantly clear that I'm not interested in trying to overexcite a seller to get their engagement. I lean very heavily on the fact that I'm supplying them with data more than an opinion.
Yes.
And of course, people say, well, what is your opinion? And I'll answer that the best that I can.
Yes.
But ultimately, once we run a campaign, we're going to have the best indication as to what our full potential is. Once we've gone through that process, the client's comfortable, we've got a marketing plan, etc. The process, I suppose, is in essence relatively repetitive around open homes, communication, vendor feedback reports, and the lead up to auction to make sure those owners are well informed and feel comfortable with what they're walking into. The main thing for me is that I do my absolute best to not overexcite how things are going. I try to be as black and white as I can. And even if I have a gut feeling about something that's not quite right, even if there's no evidence, I'll share with that owner that if I have a gut feel about saying, I'd rather them know.
Yeah.
And if it turns into nothing, no problem. But if it does, they just realise that you're so honest and an open book.
So no surprises on the upside or the downside?
Zero surprises.
Yeah, just keep on, just share everything.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Are you doing anything interesting on the marketing front with
anything
these properties?
Interesting. We're real big on our vendor paid advertising. So we make sure everyone's positioned to the best of their ability within essence, with no wastage. Anything overly clever, I think we've always had a super strong digital presence.
Good.
And that's something that I feel like I've been doing now have been doing now since 2012. As soon as I started, I could see that people weren't doing paid ads, etc. on Facebook. So that's something that I was big on pushing back then. Of course, everyone's caught up for quite some time now, but still our digital presence is really strong. I wouldn't say we're doing anything that's like quirky or anything like that, but everything's very positioned around the property more than myself. Sure, in our listing videos, I might appear a couple of times, but our presentation to the market with a client's listing is very property focused rather than about myself.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think too, when you've got a defined window, so it creates some urgency in that marketing as well, right? You actually have to get it right. You have to get it ready early. You have to hit hard.
Yeah.
Actually, it's that opportunity to go hard in a short period of time rather than doing some advertising and waiting for when buyers might decide to do something about it, giving them that sense of urgency. You've got to hit that marketing hard. Absolutely.
And again, we're positioning ourselves with like top tier online listings. We do a lot of social media, print media for a lot of our higher end homes. Still the majority of our listings actually would have print media now I think about it.
Yeah.
And then our own personal database is over 9,000 recipients. So we continue to grow and work that big time.
Yeah.
So lots of big and bold ads, but tastefully done.
Yeah, fantastic. And you have built a team over the years as well. Tell me a bit about that and how you structure the roles within that team to work effectively.
Yeah, and there's no easy road of building a team. Yeah, I'm always very transparent about that with agents that are wanting to do the same. And the ultimate recommendation I'd have to anyone that's looking to build a team is to always start with the support first before trying to build up a team of agents, which is what I did. but the benefits of it are huge because systems and processes are the most important thing for you to be able to deliver what you need to and have the time available so that you can deliver the best for your clients. So systems are huge. So I started out on my own, and within 12, 13 years ago, I started with a PA part-time, 15 hours a week.
Yes.
Within a couple of months, that doubled to 30 hours and then became a full-time role within a matter of months because I saw the value.
Yes.
So that was really big for me. So for a long time, it was just myself and a PA. That PA decided to become licensed and help me on weekends, which was great, but then it became too much.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So we ended up, again, building up the PA base. And then my now wife works with me, which was fantastic. And it's built up from Danielle, my wife, and a PA to what we are today. Like together we've grown the team and the structure and all the systems and processes that we have to build what I will confidently say is one of the most streamlined systems that any real estate team will have in the country. And how I know that is we get so much feedback from clients that have worked with other agencies and they just can't believe how the back end of our business with all the advertising, the vendor reporting, the updates, the auction contract approvals is as streamlined as everything that I'm doing at the front end.
That's so interesting. How have you made it so streamlined? What makes the difference?
I was always personally quite good at structuring the admin side myself, and it was just myself and a PA, believe it or not. A lot of people probably doubt me on that, but I was. And then my wife is incredibly detail orientated and the most organised person you've met. So she helped expand that across the board. And then over time, we've just ended up going from 1 to 2 PAs, 1 to 2 agents, and then it's just kept on following. But each and every time per salesperson, there's effectively been an administrator.
Interesting. And do you or Danielle regularly think about the processes that you're running and tweak them and change them, or is it just such a well-oiled machine that you're good to go?
No one has a perfect machine. So we are constantly tweaking and refining. And there'll be, again, because of all the variables in this job, there'll be something that comes up, or actually multiple things that come up during a year. We're like, oh, that could have been done better. But we're always thinking about how we could have addressed it better, and therefore we'll refine or tweak that system.
Yeah, and I guess too when new products come along or systems change and all of that sort of stuff can be quite disruptive for processes as well.
Exactly.
But actually thinking about how you're doing these things so that it's freeing you up to do the stuff that you're great at, I think that is a piece of the puzzle that a lot of salespeople, when they're thinking about, particularly right at the very beginning, when they're thinking about that first support person, it's like, oh God, a part-time person that's like, $30,000 or $40,000. I could keep that. Or you could spend it and free yourself up so that you can bill another, $300,000 or $400,000.
Well, I feel like people that have that mentality are underselling how good they are as well. Because if you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, if I have double the time I have currently to get in front of vendors, I'm going to do better. Yeah. Well, then you're mad. Yeah. Because that's what a PA allows you to do. Yes. Yeah. If you get the administration side right, you're going to have a lot more time to do what you need to do in this job. Get in front of buyers, sellers, do your viewings, and the rest will work out. And
with the team, do you partner with each person on the team, or is there everybody has specific ownership of their portfolio or their role? How do you structure your team?
And I should have elaborated on this better. So our PAs, they're a client experience manager. So therefore, when I get a new listing, the vendor will be assigned a client service manager. So that administrator will carry them from the beginning of the process to the end. So the unique thing about my team is everyone knows how every part of the process works. So if someone's away, someone's unwell, everything can get picked up easily. It's not like someone doesn't know how to do that role.
Yeah, great.
And it's quite nice for someone to build that relationship. I also try quite hard for my owners to meet the administrator that's working alongside them, just so that there's a face behind the emails that they get sent, etc., or the calls that they get. And everyone that works with me has a real estate license. So we make sure that everyone's on the same level on that front. In terms of the 2 agents that work with me, Jess and Meg, so they bring in their own business and listings, but they also assist me with campaign management. And the example I always use is like, right now I'm doing a podcast with you, Jen.
Yeah.
There's a property that does need to be shown right now, which is and therefore it can still occur because people want things here and now. So that's why I run a very well-oiled machine, and I'm not one of these agents that signs up a client and does absolutely nothing thereafter and then congratulates the seller at the other end.
Yes.
I'm a very involved agent from start to finish, and I think that's something that's really worked to our advantage. But everyone is very competent and capable within my team. They're all licensed, so they can all represent, sign a contract, and all those important things. So we've made sure we're as robust as we can be.
Yeah, that's interesting. Can I take you back to a conversation about Christchurch? Because before we pressed record on this, you and I started having this really interesting conversation about how the city has changed. And I'm really interested in your view. So you started in real estate just after the earthquake, and boy, what a different city it is now. It's going, well, gangbusters, really. What's your view of how this place has changed, and what is it? How is that reflected, I guess, in your real estate business?
Good question. The city has changed an awful lot. Like when I started this job, a lot of the CBD was still cordoned off.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to comprehend. And the hubs of town that were thriving were certainly not the CBD. You know, it was all the satellite suburbs, like even Addington just over there, for example, where that continued to run as business centres and all the rest. It's been phenomenal, but it's come with a lot of pain, and I've seen a lot of pain as well. And what I mean by that is I've dealt with a lot of people that have been through a very challenging process with their own home, with EQC and their insurer, and the process they've had to go through to get a resolution. Thank goodness I see less of that now, but a lot of that was tough. And I feel like Christchurch missed out on a lot. I always maintained a very positive view that we are going to have one of the few opportunities in the world where we get to start from scratch effectively as a city. And I feel like that's how it's happened. It's taken a lot longer than I expected. So there's certainly times where it was hard to maintain the degree of positivity that I did. But seeing what we have now with the stadium and all the major new landmarks in the CBD, because we lost all our key landmarks, now we have some again, it's phenomenal. But I think what resonates the most around this is the amount of people that are migrating to Christchurch from around New Zealand. But even like I'm meeting families based in Sydney, for example, that are going to move here. And I can't help but ask, why are you moving here? And there'll be a business and family sense, but it always comes down to, or at least it's mentioned, that we feel we're going to live a much better lifestyle here. And that's when I start to realise that I'm taking this place for granted, when people from Sydney, which I think is a phenomenal city, feel that way about Christchurch.
Yeah, when I was in the Uber coming here this morning, I was surprised by how many people I saw on bikes. You know, people riding. It was the middle of winter while we were recording this, and people on bikes and walking and just going places. It's a cool place to be. What's your sense of where that's going to go? I mean, there's been so much growth and so much construction and almost entire new cities, Selwyn. All of that sort of growth. Is there more of that to come? And what do you think is going to be different about this place in the short term, I guess, or medium term?
Well, I think from a national point of view, we're still incredibly affordable. When you see the lifestyle benefits that we've just talked about. So a lot of people are drawn to that as well, especially if you're moving from a more expensive region on average, like you. And say, for example, like you touched on it with Selwyn. Like Selwyn is the fastest growing district in the country, and you can see why. It's absolutely unbelievable. The Waimak district's been growing, everything around us plus Christchurch itself, and it's so apparent even in the day-to-day traffic. Like I know I shouldn't moan to someone from Auckland about our traffic, but it has gone worse here because the population has grown vastly, and I look forward to seeing the census numbers when they next come out, because I think we'll be in for a surprise. But there is a lot of scope and opportunity, but people are continuing to say they see a lot of opportunity, and there's even been quite a few job transfers of buyers that I'm dealing with to Christchurch, which it used to be the other way. I'd be selling for people that are going elsewhere.
That's so interesting. So where to from here for you and your team?
We do have some goals.
Great.
On what we want to achieve this year and the next.
Yes.
But it's just continuous growth, keeping a great name in the market, being a name associated with trust, which is something that we're so big on, and something that we've always led our business by. which I'd like to think you can kind of pick up on with the way that I've talked about things with you, and that is by putting ourselves second, we shall come first. And it's something that we'd like wholeheartedly believe. We always do what's right by our clients, and it gives us a great deal of satisfaction. I call it the sleep test. Like I sleep absolutely fine based on work-based activity because I know I'm doing what's right by people.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic ethos. And that level of kind of engagement and belief in what you do and sort of commitment to doing the right thing and doing what it takes builds a lot of confidence in you and clients' confidence in you, as well. And that will just continue to build that trust.
Absolutely. And, you're dealing with primarily people's most valuable asset. So it's, a responsibility I don't take lightly.
If you were sitting across the table now from somebody who was just starting out in real estate, in fact, I was talking to a young guy in the auction room this morning who's like in his first week, so excited about being in the business, which is so great to see.
Great.
If you were sitting across from somebody like that today, what advice would you give them?
Well, I don't know who that person is, but I would say that I think they've got a good advantage in today's world because I assume it was a younger person you just said, didn't you? Yeah. So I think compared to a lot of their peers, if they're willing to work and put in the effort and have that work ethic, they'll stand out because there's a great sense of people wanting things too easy and wanting AI to do everything for them. I think AI is great. I've integrated it into my business. It's phenomenal when it's used right. But real estate is a volume of output business.
I think that's a really important message. I think, often people look into this industry and see someone like you being really successful and they think, oh, I want a piece of that action. They want a piece of the results. And when they realise the actual input that is required, some people will shy away from that. But every conversation I have on this podcast with somebody who's been successful, they literally have done the hard yards.
Yeah, and a lot of sacrifice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy man, so I really appreciate it. I am going to ask you one more question, the question I ask everybody at the end of this podcast. What is one piece of advice that has truly made you better?
One piece of advice that's truly made me better. Jen, it's not one piece of advice. Like my business and lifestyle is centered around people, and I've met so many phenomenal people to learn things from and some lessons from others to steer away from, I suppose. But I couldn't put it down to one thing. Like I have the most amazing collaboration of beautiful people I've got to work with that have ultimately shaped who I am.
That is a fantastic answer to that question, Adam. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for getting all the way to the end of the Better Podcast with me, Jen Baird, and Bayleys. If you know someone who could get value out of this conversation, please share it. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to us. See you next time.